What are question words? Are che, cosa, and che cosa interchangeable in Italian? Does perché mean both why and because? In this episode, we will see Italian question words along with examples to help you ask questions the correct way in Italian. Iniziamo! Ciao e benvenuto, benvenuta, benvenuti! Sono Margherita. I am a language trainer and content creator for Italian learners and host of Italian Grammar Made Easy podcast. Today we are talking about question words. Find this episode guide at italianmatters.com/15 and take the quiz at the same link. What are question words? Question words are also called interrogative words, and their function is to ask a question. For example, in English, what, which, when, where. In English, they are sometimes called WH words because most of them start with a WH. In Italian, instead, they all start with different letters. And in this episode, we are going to look at 8 main Italian question words. And those are dove, where, quando, when, come, how, chi, who, perché, why, che, what, cosa, what, che cosa, what. I know, I just listed 3 of them with the same meaning of what, and we will see here soon what is the difference between them and how they are used. But first, let's start with the 5 question words, and these never change in their form. Dove, quando, come, chi, perché. Dove means where. For example, dove è la stazione? Where is the station? Dove never changes in its form, so it doesn't matter if the subject is masculine, feminine, singular or plural. Dove always stays as dove. Just like in English, you always have where, and it does not change in its form. And this rule applies to all the question words that we're going to learn today. Quando means when. So for example, we can say quando arriva il pullman? When does the bus arrive? Come means how. For example, per esempio, come si raggiunge il Duomo? How do you get to the Duomo? Chi means who. An example question would be chi ha prenotato l'hotel per domani? Who booked the hotel for tomorrow? And then perché. Perché is an interesting case in Italian because it has 2 meanings. Yes, we use it as a question word with the meaning of why, but we also use it in the response with the meaning of because. It's exactly the same word perché. As one word, there is no separation. Perché. So someone might ask you, perché vuoi imparare l'italiano? Why do you want to learn Italian? When you answer, you start your response with perché and then your reason. For example, perché vorrei andare in Italia questa estate? Because I would like to go to Italy this summer. So as you can see here, we used perché with the meaning of why as a question word in the question, and then also perché with the meaning of because in the response. So there are 2 uses of perché. Now let's get to the 3 tricky question words. Che, cosa, and che cosa. They all mean what in English. And in most cases, they are interchangeable, but not always. When che is followed by a noun, it takes the meaning of which and it cannot be replaced by cosa or che cosa. For example, if I say che gusto vuoi, what flavor do you want? Which flavor do you want? Here, che functions as an adjective with a meaning of which, and as such, we cannot replace it by cosa or che cosa. I cannot say cosa gusto vuoi or che cosa gusto vuoi. I can only say che gusto vuoi because here the meaning is which. Which flavor do you want? See? When che instead is followed by a verb, then we can use cosa or che cosa in its place. So for example, we can say che pensi? What do you think? Cosa pensi? What do you think? Che cosa pensi? Again, what do you think? Here, che is followed by a verb, pensi. And so in this case, we can change it with cosa and che cosa. See? So this is the main rule to keep in mind. When in a question, che is followed by a noun, it takes the meaning of which and it cannot be substituted. Instead, when in a question, che is followed by a verb, then it can be substituted by cosa and che cosa. When che, cosa, and che cosa are interchangeable, their use depends mostly on where you are in Italy. It depends on regional differences. For example, in northern Italy, it's more common to hear the word cosa in questions, while in the central southern part of Italy, it's more common to hear che in the questions. And in written language, it's more common to hear che cosa. Benissimo, now let's recap what we saw in this episode. 8 question words. Dove, where. Quando, when. Come, how. Chi, who. Perché, why, and because. Che, what or which. Cosa, what. Che cosa, what. Ottimo! Now you know how to use these 8 question words in Italian. Don't forget to download the guide summarizing this episode at italianmatters.com/15 and take the auto-graded quiz on this podcast episode. And if you found this podcast episode helpful, could you give it a review on Apple Podcast? Grazie mille, I appreciate this very much. Questo è tutto per questo episodio. Grazie e ci sentiamo giovedì prossimo. Ciao e buon fine settimana. Ciao ciao!